I'd say hello, motherfuckers, but I don't have the energy, guys. You know, being up uh, at 10 to 5 o'clock today, fucking AM, coming home, watching this fucking show. I'm spent. I'm totally fucking spent. This Raw was unbearable. I have to say it from top to bottom. A show that just sucked. I mean, right before a pay per view. I mean, as far as all the Raws go post Mania, this was the worst one yet. I mean, my God, I've never been. Well, I it's kind of hyperbole right there when you kind of think about it. I've been more bored. It wasn't the worst show, but this was like a Raw that really cemented me into thinking that they got the nerve of labeling Payback as the start of a new era. This ain't the start of a new era. This is the start of the same fucking shit again, year after year, and it's the same fucking shit. They always say, "Oh, there's gonna be a new era. Oh, we're gonna change." And no, how many times have we been hearing this? Edgier content. We're gonna get better. We promise. We swear. No. I'm not falling for it anymore with this fucking shit. This is the type of Raw that proves that they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea how to move forward, and I can't wait. I want to bet anybody that the rating for this Raw is even lower than it was last week. There's no way that this Raw scored higher. This was a boring ass Raw that would have put anybody to sleep in no time fast. We started off with Shane McMahon in the ring, and oh, the mystery's been solved. He's running Raw again. I'm totally shocked by that. I didn't expect Shane to be running Raw. I mean, if they're gonna have a mystery, at least let it be a real mystery. I said in my Raw preview, the WWE.com preview on their website, they said that, oh, is Shane going to be running Raw? Well, obviously he is. And he's back thanks to us. And, this promo was confusing because, obviously we know McMahon makes the decisions. Vince does, right? So Stephanie comes out to interrupt. Triple H is not there. It's just Stephanie. No word on where Triple H is. We haven't seen him since Mania. Don't make mention of the guy who just held the fucking belt. You know, uh, no continuity there, of course. But Stephanie says that at Payback, McMahon is going to decide who's going to run Raw. So it ain't just a trial run. Like I said, it doesn't even really matter that, Shane put his body on the line to defeat The Undertaker. He just got, he got what he wanted anyway. Like I said, they didn't even need to have the match. If that's what they were gonna do, they should have just fucking kept the script like that. Have interference, do something to at least make it make a little bit of sense, make logical sense. When you're telling a story, it's like that would be like if I'm reading a book and all of a sudden in the middle of the chapter they just fucking throw a bunch of shit out of nowhere that just makes no godly sense. I mean, it's like Harry Potter. He's at Hogwarts one minute, and then he's at a completely different school the next. You're like, how? Like, what? What the fuck are you even? What is this? It doesn't make any sense. You're following a story. Oh, so if Shane loses this match, he's going to, not control Raw, obviously. Like, said this in the preview. I've been saying it the past couple of weeks. You lose a match based on the stipulations, and they're supposed to follow it. Yeah, I've never seen this before where they're just like, oh, well, fuck it, the very next night. I've never seen them make such like, they've done some retarded things, but I've never seen them not make sense this much. I mean, if you're not going to make sense, at least explain it. Just be like, oh, it doesn't matter, but we're going to actually sit here and in our brains we're supposed to believe that a match that took place like 3 weeks ago doesn't matter when they were just telling us it was probably the most important match we were going to see like in the history of Mania, and now we're going to have to sit here and pretend like they didn't say that. you know, I've seen WWE try to, erase history from a couple of years ago, maybe even a year ago, but a couple of weeks ago. For fuck's sakes, give me a fucking break. I mean, there, there's insulting our intelligence, and then there's removing our fucking brain from our heads, throwing you on the ground and fucking stomping on that fucking shit. And when you're done stomping on it, taking your pants, pulling it down, and taking a big shit on my brain, then taking that shit covered brain, sticking it back in my head, and telling me I'm supposed to accept it. I'm not fucking accepting it. This is retarded. And this is one of hundreds of reasons why the ratings are going down for WWE. I'm even thinking about making a list on exactly why the ratings are going down, just so we can lay it out in a convenient video. So I'd say look for that video in the coming days. But until then, we'll talk about this promo. So, Shane's out there, he's running the show, and Shane brought up a good point in this promo that kind of made the WWE and Vince McMahon look like complete fucking stooges. So Shane says, let's do a little bit of a poll, and he puts his hand above Stephanie's head, puts his hand above his head. And obviously, when he does this, people are cheering more for him. They're booing Stephanie. And Stephanie says, they're not going, Vince is not going to listen to the audience. And Shane is like, well, Vince must be listening to the audience because I'm running Raw. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Why would they have Stephanie come out there and say that? I mean, if she's the daughter of the owner of the company, I'm like, what? Exactly. Did they not just say that Shane is running the show due to popular social media demand? So if that is the case, then why the fuck would McMahon have a problem with Shane running the show? Yeah, I kind of like understand that, maybe Vince wants to be able to compare the two, Stephanie and Shane. It could make for some interesting, but it's probably going to be a shit ass segment. I was going to say it could be something interesting, but, Stephanie saying that Vince is not listening to the audience, that's exactly what he's doing. Once again, I mean, come on, is my intelligence not important to WWE? Of course it's not. But I mean, they don't have to fucking outright slap us in the motherfucking face. I mean, it's more than a slap to the face. It's like a big fucking kick to the fucking face. I mean, for God's sakes, I'm like, every single segment, a big fucking hand should come out of my fucking TV screen and fucking slap me in the fucking face. I mean, what are we watching here? I'm being told that, 1 minute that Shane McMahon is in charge because, Vince McMahon is listening to social media. And then the next minute, Stephanie is saying that Vince doesn't listen to the audience, even though that's the reason they just fucking said that he was running the show. I mean, are they even listening to themselves? They're writing the show. It's in the fucking script. We all know how close to the script that they keep it. We were just talking about this in the preview. So now they're gonna turn around and say, "Oh, the more I talk about this, the more my fucking brain hurts." I mean, I've never in my life seen them fuck up that bad. Anyway, got our first match here. Oh, Shane has Stephanie escorted away by security. We've seen this 1,000 times. Just not too long ago, Stephanie got arrested by Brie Bella. If you remember that shit, AJ Styles beat this segment. Let me give my opinion on it. I guess if it wasn't clear before, this segment had more plot holes than a piece of fucking Swiss cheese. A really rotten piece of Swiss cheese that has been eaten up by my fucking dog and shat out its fucking ass. So then you got AJ Styles and Sheamus in the first match, and you might be asking yourself, well, how about that cheese that's been shat out your dog's ass? Well, if this segment wasn't any indication of the quality of this particular Raw, I'd say turn your eyes to AJ and Sheamus. This match was slow. This match was boring. This match was fucking long. I mean, it's bad enough that the match sucks, but it was long as well. I mean, where are the people during this match to say cut? When it's not going well, why is the match being prolonged? It's live TV. They can fucking end it whenever they want. Put another match out there or another segment. For God fucking sakes. It was like a fucking half an hour. I'm not even joking. The match was like 20-25 minutes or some shit with fucking commercials. It was like 2 commercial breaks during the fucking match. I mean, and the thing is, what I love is, I haven't really looked at people's opinions on this match yet, but I've got to fucking say that I know there's going to be people that are going to say that this was a good match. And why are they going to say that it was a good match? Because it was a long match. And according to a big percentage of wrestling fans, just because a match goes long, they think that it's a good match because they're focusing on wrestling. So, short match bad, long match good. This is like a fucking caveman mentality. This was a long ass, dragged out match that did not need to be this long, and is the reason why 3 hour Raws should be fucking extinct, motherfuckers. This was so long and boring and treacherous. There's a new fucking word for you in the Raw review right here. Fucking treacherous as a motherfucker, this match. It was long. They. I've never seen two wrestlers not be that comfortable with each other in the ring. AJ was like the fucking Sheamus was like they didn't go well together, and they were sort of fumbling around. It looked real sloppy, and Sheamus gives AJ a kick in the corner. It ain't even that impressive, and they're like replaying it 3 times. And I'm like, why are they replaying a kick that looked like fucking shit? I don't know. Why the fuck am I even watching the match? Fucking replaying kicks 3 times in a fucking row. I'll give you a fucking kick in the fucking pants to fucking improve the goddamn show. It's a piece of trash. Watching a 30-minute match that fucking sucks cock. What the hell is this fucking show coming to? I remember when shitty matches would at least be 10 minutes. I mean, if the match is gonna suck, at least be kind and courteous and fucking cut it out. I mean, whose idea? Which bozo? Was it McMahon? Is it somebody else that green lighted a fucking 30-minute AJ Sheamus match? I mean, first of all, they don't even know how this match is going to go. Maybe they've been doing it at house shows, but they don't fucking know how it's going to be on Raw. Why would they book it to go this long? I mean, what the fuck is this? I mean, I feel like I'm watching the AWA or some fucking shit with 30-minute matches. This wasn't even a fucking Iron Man match, for God fucking sakes. What is this? Um, then you got New Day coming out, and guys, I gotta be perfectly honest. You guys know that in the beginning, I was praising New Day when they did the little alteration on their gimmick, when they started going a bit off the script. But now they have just become downright fucking irritating. And I tweeted this out during the show. So, the vaudevillains come out. You got Enzo and Big Cass, and it was, a little bit more entertaining with those guys coming out. But then at the end, Xavier Woods just ruining the segment by, saying, "Oh, you could cut the tension with a knife." I'm like, is this goofball? Does he, have any idea how stupid he made the whole segment sound? And I was, and you guys saw that when Woods first came into the WWE and they teamed him with R-Truth, that I fucking bashed the guy, and I bashed WWE. I says, like, they take this guy that's very unimpressive from TNA and fucking throw his ass out there and expect me to, enjoy him, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna fucking accept this guy. I don't care if he's taking classes at Harvard. He could take the fucking Ivy League and shove it up his fucking ass for all I care. Then when they put him in New Day and he started doing some mic work and shit, I started getting behind him. I'm like, hey, the guy's got a character. WWE is trying. I'm ready to accept this. I'm getting behind Woods. He's trying to have a character. The guy was honestly making an effort, and WWE was making an effort to develop him as a talent. So I ain't gonna shoot that down. And the guy was doing a good job. So I'm gonna praise him. But then it became overkill. And then they started crying over fucking trombones that got broken and shit. And then they started talking about fucking Bootio cereal, a non-existent cereal. Now every single time they come out, I have to hear them say, they make sure you ain't booty every single fucking time. It's the same fucking shtick. It ain't funny. There ain't nothing funny about Bootios. Bootios, Bootios. Fuck the fucking Bootios up your own fucking Bootio ass, motherfuckers. I'm getting sick and goddamn tired of this fucking bullshit. Raw after Raw, week after week, it's the same fucking thing. Give this time to Enzo and Cass. Get the fucking tag titles off of these goofs already. Talk about overexposed. Talk about fucking jumping the fucking shark. If it, look that expression up. New Day is the very definition of jumping the shark. When you got something good, when you got something that is a hit, but you go way, way too far and overstay your welcome with something just totally fucking out there. They jumped the shark with New Day 110%. Can't fucking stand them anymore. The fucking Bullet Club, well, they're not allowed to call them the Bullet Club, I guess, because New Japan probably has it copyrighted. But it's Anderson, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows versus the Usos. JBL says that this is a dream match. This is a dream match in your fucking dreams, motherfucker. I mean, whose dream match is this? I don't remember this being my dream match. A dream match was Hulk Hogan and Stone Cold. The dream match was, something like Macho Man versus The Rock, or something like that. This ain't a dream match. This is some dudes from Japan versus fucking face painting PG goofballs. That's all it fucking is. And I'm watching this team again. We have a 15-minute match here, kind of a long match, and I'm not really seeing anything too impressive from these guys. And I don't know if it's because WWE told them to, you know, kind of not go as hard, kind of just mellow out a little bit in this match, tune it down a bit. And I wasn't impressed. They didn't really do anything that was out of the ordinary. The finish looked a bit sloppy as well. Didn't look like Carl Anderson really got the flip thing down with the neck breaker. I don't know. This I wasn't feeling this match. I had trouble getting into it. It was, the match was also at a slower pace. I'm not knocking a slower paced match. I've enjoyed slower paced matches in the past, but this match was, it wasn't good. This is not the future of wrestling here, like people are making it out to be. Oh, Brad, they're way better in New Japan. Oh, well, I'll wait till they have a good match in WWE. Then I don't really feel like watching New Japan wrestling, and I know I'm gonna get heat for that, but whatever. I'm not in the mood, motherfuckers. I just watched a 3-hour fucking piece of shit wrestling show. Not really in the mood to watch any more wrestling tonight, to be quite fucking honest. So I wasn't really too impressed here with the Bullet Club. They didn't set the world on fire like people were claiming. I'm still waiting for them to take over the fucking world like the YWC is making it to be. They kind of looked like an average tag team, to be quite honest. They not really too impressive, not yet anyway. But anyway, you had a little package, a video package with Owens and Zayn, and they finally explained why these guys hate each other. If you didn't watch NXT, you wouldn't even know what the fuck is going on. And that's thanks to these great folks here at WWE and McMahon running the show. Just bringing guys up from NXT, and we're supposed to expect that the whole crowd and the home viewing audience who doesn't have the network, or maybe they don't even watch NXT, they might have the network and just watch the WWE shit. They might not watch NXT, but we're just assuming that people know about Owens and Zayn. What a poor, lazy way of going about things. We're just gonna have a storyline and not even tell a fucking story. What a bunch of fucking bullshit. This is why I said it's so important to have a story. Here's a match that's gonna happen at the pay-per-view, and it just feels so fucking dry. This is a huge, massive, like 14-year rivalry with these guys. They've been fighting for their whole fucking careers. I mean, for fuck's sake, these guys wrestled in Ring of Honor like in so many fucking matches, dozens of matches. They wrestled in Canada. I remember even Wrestling Jesus saying that he saw an indie show in Canada and he saw these guys wrestling, El Generico and Kevin Steen. So there you go again with that. The these guys have been wrestling for a long fucking time. And we're only getting to see the video package now. I mean, it was a good video package. They talked about their history. Steen said how they, or Owens rather, talked about how they met at a wrestling show, and it was actually really well produced. And I was looking on Twitter, people were praising it, and rightfully so. It's kind of like a little bit too little too late, but I was kind of happy that they at least attempted to tell a little bit of a story here and give a little bit of backstory to a match that it might be pretty good at the pay-per-view. Depends on how much effort they put in and what they're allowed to do. Anyway, you got fucking Zayn versus Rusev, which is just a weird match going into the pay per view. I mean, Anyway, Zayn beats Rusev with a roll up, and it didn't feel right. Seeing Zayn pin Rusev, when guys like Mark Henry couldn't even pin Rusev, guys like the Big Show couldn't even pin Rusev. Seeing Sami Zayn just win with a schoolboy on Rusev, the fucking, um, Bulgarian brute, this guy that was unbeatable. The only guy who could beat him fair and square was Cena. And now Sami Zayn somehow beats him. Like this is the same thing, like I said, like nobody could beat Cena, but Del Rio comes along and beats Cena like he's nothing. Beat him in 7 minutes for the US title. I always bring this up. Then you've got somebody, Cena beat Rusev, right? So anyway, like I said, it made Del Rio look really big. Now you got Zayn who pinned Rusev. So now it's like, not only did Cena pin Rusev and he had to put all his efforts into beating him, but now Zayn, a guy like Zayn, who's got like 3 times less the build of Cena, and no height, and he's beating this big fucking powerlifting monster. I'm like, I'm not buying this. What where's the realism here? I'm not, I mean, this is fucking ridiculous, really, like looking at it. The crowd's not even into it. Uh, you know, I'm not hearing these big pops for Zayn. People are saying how much people love Zayn. Yes, the crowds with like a couple of hundred people, they love Sami Zayn, but the main roster, the tens of thousands of people and the millions of people, well, now the fucking 2 million people that are watching at home, they're not too hot on Sami Zayn. Otherwise, the ratings would be going up, and everybody would be cheering for him. But Zayn was hitting some impressive moves like a moonsault off the barricade, and the crowd didn't even give a fuck. I mean, he's pulling all these moves out, risking his life basically. Think about it. One slip up on one of these awesome moves that Zayn's pulling out, he could break his neck, and the crowd isn't even appreciating him. This is no knock against Zayn, but this is a knock against fucking WWE. The guy's going out there, he's risking his body with all these high risk moves. And you don't even have a character or anything for Zayn to try to get him over. Don't give him any good promos or anything. Just send him into like a high profile match with a video package and a win over Rusev that people view Rusev as pathetic anyway, so Zayn pinning Rusev doesn't mean shit. Anybody could beat Rusev nowadays, apparently. So it doesn't really stand out when somebody beats him. Owens attacks him after the match. Lana's throwing shoes at Zayn. And, I'm surprised the audience wasn't throwing tomatoes at him as well. Anyway, fucking Apollo Crews beat Stardust. It was just pretty much a squash match here. I don't know where they're gonna go with Crews once again. The audience doesn't give a fuck, and why really should they? I mean, we're supposed to, we've got plenty of athletic guys on the roster. People aren't gonna pop for moonsaults anymore. Zayn just did a moonsault off the fucking barricade. So, what I'm saying, we see high flying moves in every match. AJ does high flying moves. The guy does a fucking springboard 450. So, Apollo Crews is not going to really stand out. Yeah, he's athletic and impressive. But then again, it's Cesaro, and that guy is even taller, and more intimidating than Crews. So I don't really see why they think people are just going to take a liking to Apollo Crews. They've got to do a little bit more. wrestling, an impressive match is not enough. Character promos, they've got to win the crowd over other ways. A moonsault is not enough anymore. That would have worked if this was fucking 1993 and we didn't see that many moonsaults. We see a moonsault in just about every other match on Raw, so that's not enough. Um, Dean Ambrose comes out, starts cutting a promo on Jericho. Jericho comes out, and what we got here was a pretty good promo between these guys. Dean Ambrose got all fired up. He started making fun of Jericho's appearance and shit, and then he attacked Jericho. I mean, him getting all excited like that. I mean, it didn't really play into the lunatic fringe thing I always keep talking about. That they call him the lunatic fringe, but he doesn't really act like a lunatic. He just kind of acted like a guy pissed off. Well, he showed emotion, and it was a pretty good segment. The exchange between Jericho. Uh, Jericho seems obsessed with calling people a stupid idiot now, which, by the way, is a bit of an it's a bit. I wouldn't say an oxymoron. I'd say it's a bit redundant, is what I want to say. You're stupid moron. It's like one or the other. Anyway, I don't really see how applying the walls of Jericho on top of the announce table is gonna make it any more effective. I said the same thing when Paige was applying the PTO on top of the announce table. I remember a couple of months ago. I was like, what? Why even bother applying it there? It's not like they've got a chair around their ankle or some shit. It's just anyway. I enjoyed this segment for what it was. Pretty good segment. I like the exchange. Very rare nowadays when we get captivating promos. Um, Natalia beat Emma. I'm gonna be perfectly honest here as well. I thought that Emma looked more important than Natalia. I kind of was digging her new style. I saw people on Twitter complaining about the shoulder pads. I think they look all right. They made her look interesting. The sunglasses, the fishtail braid or whatever the fuck it's called. I liked how Emma's new style looked. It gave her a different kind of flair about her. It did make her look like, evil Emma. They're saying it with a new attitude. We all remember the stupid fucking dance she used to do, and now you see her like this. It was a good contrast, but they're not really telling a good story anymore. The thing is, if they rehashed a little bit and used to say like how Emma used to be, hanging around with Santinos, and she used to have her own fucking sock puppet and shit like that, then maybe, just maybe, they would fucking have Emma over. They could show how evil that she had become, and she got sick of doing that baby face bullshit. That could have been a good storyline to have, but once again, missed opportunity, and a very easy, opportunity there that they could have took advantage of to reinvent the wrestler. And she would have been a better opponent even for you know well, I mean, not at this stage, but if they ever need a babyface challenger, I was gonna say better than Natalia, but then you'd have a heel against the heel. So if they ever give the title to Sasha or something, Emma's still there. She's a good talent in the ring, and um, she's been developing a personality from what I've seen in NXT. So if they carry that over, that could also work maybe. But I was just saying anyway. Natalia made her tap out with the sharpshooter, so they're obviously not going to do anything with Emma yet. Um, Bret Hart is saying that he don't even want to be at the pay-per-view. Enthusiasm. Doesn't even want to be there. He's just there to support Natalia. He said that, he wants to put Flair in the sharpshooter, and I hope he does. That could be pretty cool if they do that. Um, you had a tribute to China. He saved this all the way to the last hour when people were tuning out. So, that was kind of a bad decision, but it was a nice tribute video. I'm not going to complain. They acknowledged her at the beginning of the show, they acknowledged her here. Russo was kidding on Twitter when Vince Russo, he posted that they should have had the whole Diva locker room or the women's locker room come out on stage and honor China. And then he said that Stephanie should have came out and fired all of them. He was kidding when he said that. He even said he was kidding. But I did like that, having the Divas come out to pay their respects to China. Because let's be perfectly honest, if it wasn't for China, women's wrestling wouldn't even fucking exist today. That shit would have been long gone. It would have died out with Wendy Richter and all them other fucking jobbers back then. So they could have done that at least. That part would have been a good idea, to have the Divas come out on stage and pay respects for the legend that is China. Um, Baron Corbin uh, was going to have a match with Damian Sandow. And I was actually happy to see that Sandow still exists. I think he was having matches on Superstars, but I'm not so sure lately. I did see his name like up there on the network. I didn't watch it, but you know, um, I was like, he's gonna get crushed by Corbin anyway. But Dolph Ziggler attacked Corbin before he can make it to the ring. They spared Sandow a squash match, but the thing is, the problem I had here is that Baron Corbin ran away from Dolph Ziggler, and they frequently do this problem here. They always get themselves into this pickle. Baron Corbin, this guy is like 6'8", and he's running away from Dolph Ziggler, a guy that he dwarfs. How much fucking sense does that make? Why would Baron Corbin run from Ziggler? If anything, it would be the other way around. I mean, it should. Corbin should have beat the shit out of Ziggler here. What the fuck? Running away from him like a coward? This guy's supposed to be a badass, and they're having him cry winning the fucking Andre trophy, and then are having him run away like a fucking pussy from Dolph Ziggler. Cesaro and The Miz had a promo in the ring, and I enjoyed this promo. I have to say, I thought it was kind of funny. I also really liked Cesaro coming out with the 007 gun barrel. People make comparisons to 007 when he debuted the suit entrance on his night back the night after Raw. But I gotta say that, that was a nice little touch that they did actually give him the gun barrel. So, but anyway, The Miz was doing movie lines. He quoted Joe Pesci from Casino, which I liked. Um, and oh no, actually that was Goodfellas. Rather, he quoted Goodfellas from with Joe Pesci. They did Taxi Driver. Then they did Dirty Harry, and I liked how Cesaro says there's only one movie you should be in, Jackass. Not the best promo in the world, but they had a little bit of fun on the mic, and they were joking around. And it didn't really get out of hand or get stupid, so I kind of liked it for what it was. And the Miz's gimmick with the Hollywood references, it kind of works to a certain degree. Last week I thought it was a bit of a fail with the take-in lines, but looks like they did kind of like a little bit of a reworking of this type of promo, and it worked this week, I think. Then you had your main event. It was Roman Reigns and Alberto Del Rio. And this was a pretty bland main event. Um, you had the Bullet Club coming out, AJ coming out, and it just kind of felt a little bit flat at the end. I gotta say, really wasn't feeling this match at all. You got a little bit of tension there with the Bullet Club. Um, little bit of tension with Reigns and AJ, and is the Bullet Club gonna help AJ? But I don't know. The thing is, there's not enough here excitement. They've barely built any excitement. It's just pretty much Roman Reigns. Oh, those guys are your friends, and there's not really any tension. We have, Reigns doesn't have the ability to tell a story because he can't cut a fucking promo. So you can't feel any emotion with this match. You can't get into it because you got like, boring characters here. AJ's not the most exciting guy in the world. Roman Reigns can't say a fucking word without fucking up on the mic, so they can't even put him behind the mic most of the time. When they do, it's a big risk. There's, there's no way, like, I'm sorry, but this doesn't feel like a main event. It feels like, maybe it could be a main event on Raw or SmackDown, but for a pay per view, Roman Reigns doesn't even feel like a world champion. And, I don't know. This just feels a little bit too weird as a match. This is a new era. We should be happy we're getting a new, fresh match. And I'm not going to say that, I don't want to see it, but it doesn't really feel that exciting that this match. It's not just complaining. It's like, um, actually have a reason here. It doesn't really feel like a kind of match that, will get you really excited and pumped. This whole show was like that. It was just a fucking boring match. And the other thing is, well, again, where the fuck was Shane during this whole thing? There was no Shane throughout this show. So you're telling me Shane goes through all the trouble of throwing Stephanie out of the building, and we don't hear a peep out of Shane throughout the whole show? This is what I mean. It's like, does it even matter if they, at Payback, they decide to not keep Shane running the show? Because we don't even get to see him most of the time. He's there at the start of the show, and then he's gone for the other fucking 2.5 hours. I mean, like, where do they explain where he went? Is he backstage even? We wouldn't know. We wouldn't know if he left the building or anything. I mean, isn't the whole point of him being in charge to show him being in charge? Isn't that supposed to be his character? Then show him doing it. They've done this with Mick Foley as the commissioner. They did it with Shawn Michaels. Now these Shane shows up and then he disappears. And we're all left scratching our heads wondering where the fuck he went. I don't get it. 2 weeks ago, they showed Shane throughout the show. Then fast forward 2 more weeks, and then you don't got Shane anywhere. It's like they were going the right way in the right direction, and then they were like, ah, fuck it, it's too much work. Yeah, it's really hard to show a guy a couple of times throughout the night just to show what he's doing. I mean, if social media wants Shane to be there so bad, shouldn't WWE be dying to show as much of him as they can? I mean, for God's sakes, they don't have any qualms about showing Roman Reigns 1,000 fucking times, and AJ was popping up all over the fucking show. But no, Shane McMahon, their big popular guy that they want to bring back and shit. They don't want to show him. I mean, well, like, why? Why would they, fuck up this opportunity to get the most they can out of Shane? Boring fucking show, motherfuckers. The whole fucking way, it was a total fucking snooze fest. There wasn't, aside from like two promos, These matches were boring. There wasn't anything to get me excited for the pay-per-view. Besides Jericho and Ambrose promoting their match, and Cesaro and Miz also did a good job. I mean, the promos were the best part, I guess. A good video package, two good promos, and a lot of other fucking garbage. That's how I would describe Raw if you asked me, motherfuckers.